Hey guys, I know you guys are like really excited to see this video, and I'm sorry it took so long. Angelo's flight got delayed and we had to wait like 3 hours, and finally he left, and now I am here to do the interview, or show you guys the interview, premiere the interview, any way you want to slice it. So I do have to warn you though, it was my first time doing this type of interview on a split screen, and I totally forgot to do a sound check, so he's kind of echoey. Not that bad, you can still hear him, but he's gonna kill me. But the good news is, and you guys will hear at the end, he actually agreed to come on a live show. He's really busy till the end of the year, but he did agree till like sometime early next year. So that's pretty awesome. But even with the echo, I think you guys are really gonna like the interview. I had a great time. We talked a bit about Brendan Dassey and Stephen Avery. So without further ado, what I did do is I clipped some pieces from other videos, other documentaries, just to really explain his story. What makes his story so fascinating to me, I mean, besides the fact I knew him, was that you know, unlike Brendan, people think, oh, if you have no money, if you're a lowlife, if you're more like Brendan, that's when you confess, or, you know, rich people don't confess. This is a spoiled rich kid who got everything he wanted. Lived in the best area of Long Island, extremely wealthy area. I've heard like rumor mill, oh, well, he got a couple million for doing 17 years in prison. I can assure you his parents were worth way more. And if they hadn't died or died of natural causes, or if he wasn't convicted, I can assure you that he would have been left a lot more than $3 million, $3.5 million. But he's got such a great story, and it's so similar to Brendan. But, you know, it really goes to show you that innocent people do confess, and you can be the spoiled rich kid and still confess. And I asked him about it in the interview. So without further ado, I'm going to start playing the clips that I pulled from other sources to really give you guys a background of who he is and what happened to him before we do the main story. So this is my interview with Marty Tankleff yesterday. And like I said, I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. And by the way, how do I sound? Because I got a professional microphone. So I hope I sound good. And I'm going to play it for you guys. And I'll probably do some talking in between it. But I have to put on my headset so I can hear.
On September 7th, 1988, began one of the most troubling criminal cases in American law, the trial of Marty Tankleff for the murder of his parents. A complex story of a contested confession, millions of dollars, and multiple suspects.
Listen to this 911 call. Listen to the operator.
I'm connecting you with the ambulance.
Just listen to this 911 operator. It is insane. This would never happen today.
Hold on. I can't write that fast. Where's on the street? It's on Crooked Oak Road. Crooked Oak? Yes. No. Answer my question. What's your name?
Who does that?
With that frantic call to the 911 emergency operator,
Like, who says no? I thought it was the craziest thing, and I guess I didn't realize it then, but listening to it now was like, wow. So here's Marty in his own voice when he was still in prison.
1988, could you tell us your best recollection of what time you woke up and what it is you did when you first woke up that morning?
Waking up in the morning, shortly before 6.
How did you know it was before 6?
I had an alarm clock. It was the first day of school. I remember wanting to get up a little bit early because it was the first day. Went out of my room. First thing I noticed, which was a little odd, was all the lights were on.
All the lights throughout the house were on?
All the lights were out throughout the house. And when I woke in my room, I looked outside and I saw lights on, which would be unusual.
Tell us about
The house doesn't do the area
physical,
justice.
Location, layout of from your room to, you say you looked into your parents' room.
Okay, well, there's a somewhat large corridor between the two rooms, and there's actually a foyer hallway that leads into their room. On either side of that little hallway, there are two closets. One's in the outer area, and one's in the inner area. In addition, if you come out of my room and you go straight and you make a left, there's a bathroom there. If you make a right, you go into the main area of the home.
And you looked into the bedroom, and what, if anything, where were you when you looked into the bedroom?
That's my recollection. I walked just slightly into the doorway.
Okay. And could you see anything?
No.
So nothing in the bedroom?
Nothing in the bedroom.
Could you see your mom? Could you see
No.
your father?
No.
Okay, what did you do then?
After that, I started walking into the main area of the house, and noticed that the front door was open.
The front door was open?
Was open a little bit, which was very strange. Since we had an alarm system, it was always common just to keep all the doors locked. As I proceeded through the house, all the lights were on, but I didn't see anybody. Once again, this just felt very strange because it was never, in all my years of living there, I'd never experienced something like that.
Well, were you scared?
I don't know if I was scared, just uncomfortable. I don't know if it is.
Were you concerned?
Concerned, yeah, because it just didn't seem right.
And so you started looking around the house?
Started going through the house. The house is a ranch-style house, so you basically just walk, from one end to the other of it.
Okay, where was the next place you went to then?
The living room. From the living room into the kitchen area. From there, I kept walking. I noticed that the door to the greenhouse was open.
Where were you heading at that point?
Into the gym office area where the card game was the night before.
And when you arrived there, were the lights on there?
Yes.
And what did you see when you arrived there?
My father was there,
And where was your father?
sitting in his office chair.
Can you describe what you saw as you arrived in the room?
A nightmare, devastation, something you couldn't imagine. He was.
Well, see, we weren't there. I want you to tell us as best as you can.
It's hard to describe.
And I wanted
because
to show you guys what a 17-year-old kid
nightmare.
walks
He was
into
Seated at his desk.
in his
See that?
father's
There
office.
was blood on him. He was gagging, which I later found out was saying he was trying to gag for air.
Were his eyes open?
I don't remember. I started screaming and yelling.
Well, what did you scream?
I don't remember the exact words. It was just, complete panic.
And what did you do?
I remember, running over to him, screaming at him, "Dad, Dad." I remember.
Did you touch him?
At that point, I don't think I did. I know after I'd called 911, I did.
When you said "Dad, Dad," did he respond in any way? And he was gagging?
Yes.
Wow.
And what did you do at that point?
I called 911.
Where were you when you called 911?
I believe I ran into the kitchen to call 911.
Was there a phone on your dad's desk?
Yes.
But you didn't use that
No.
phone?
Why? I've been asked why.
I was about to ask you, why did you not use
I
that
don't
phone?
know. I don't know if it was just the sheer terror of what I saw in that room. I don't know. There's no, I don't think anybody can really answer why.
He's gushing blood.
Listen to me. Is this a private house?
Yes, it is.
All right, now
The
listen.
meds are on the way.
Listen to me. I'm sending you an ambulance. I want you to take a clean towel,
Yes.
wrap wherever he's gushing blood from, hold pressure on it, lay him down if possible, get his feet elevated, and we'll have someone down there for you.
Remember running back to my room, getting a towel, and I remember getting a pillow from somewhere. I don't even remember where now. Because my father was in the chair, I had to get him out of the chair. And somehow I did. I don't remember how exactly, but I did.
You have no recollection of how you got him out of the chair?
No. I don't know if I lifted him out, whether I pulled him out, but I know I was able to get him out of the chair.
And was he still bleeding?
Yes.
Can you describe again?
Well, you know, I don't know if he was actually bleeding, because I don't think that was a primary concern. I think I was more interested in helping him, you know, and all I remember doing was elevating his feet with the pillow and placing the towel over the wound.
And you were screaming for your mother?
Yes.
And what did you do then?
Started running from room to room to room, and ended up running. I remember going to the garage, looking to see if the cars were out. Okay, none of the cars were out. Started going through the rooms. Okay, never found anything. Finally, I went back into my parents' room, and I saw her there on the floor.
Where was she on the floor?
On the other side of her bed. The curtains were open a little bit, and after the fact, I learned that there was a TV on the whole time, with the volume off.
What, were you frightened?
Absolutely.
Well, tell us something about that fear that you had in you.
It was a combination. It was frightened, devastation, confusion. Wasn't really sure if this was reality.
It was 6:50.
Oops. Oh, because that's where I cut it. Silly me.
Actually getting to a point of travel where we were nowhere near the hospital. I said, where are we going? I said, I want to go to the hospital. He said, well, I'll take you there later. He said, but I need to take you to Yaphank to get a statement from you. I said, no, I want to go to the hospital.
Yaphank is the county jail.
No, he said, we're going to go to Yaphank. He said, we need some more information on Jerry Sturman.
Marty was taken from the crime scene directly to the back entrance of police headquarters. It was here, in a windowless room, that interview became interrogation.
The room was very small. There were points where I was basically cordoned into a little corner. And there were times that Ryan was on one side of me, had his hands on my knees or my shoulders, and he was trying to comfort me. There were other times that he was up screaming and yelling. There were also times when McCready was on the other side of the desk, screaming and yelling at me.
What would they say to you?
You know, enough of this already. We know you did it. You know, just tell us you did it. That's all we need to hear. That's all we want to know. But, you know, they weren't the only ones. I can remember, you know, later in the day, I don't know what time it was, I believe it was Sergeant Doyle, you know, who threw me up against the wall.
I once had to go to a periodontist to have some work done, and my gums unfortunately were bleeding, and I went to the dentist about 11:30 at night. He shot adrenaline into my gums and stopped the bleeding. And it was based on that I came up with this idea that his father, you know, he knows his father was bleeding, and we're talking about blood. So I walked over to the one desk, dialed the extension for the desk closest to the interview room, and when that rang, I got up and walked over there and answered my own phone call. And I just made like I was having a conversation with my comedy. And after that conversation, I hung up and I said, Marty, that was the detective I spoke to before. He's at the hospital. I said, they told me that your father, they pumped him full of adrenaline, and they came out of the coma, and he's saying it's you, Marty. You're the one that did it.
And I remember McCready coming in, kind of pushing me into the corner with his finger. Actually pointed his finger into my chest and said, Marty, we got you. I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, well, we just pumped your father full of adrenaline, and he said, you did it. He said, we've got it on tape, and he wants you to tell us why you did it. And that's when I said, no way. He's lying. That's not true. I didn't do anything.
There came a point when you tell them what they wanted to hear. Why would you do that?
It was a way to escape the confines of that environment. You know, was it the truth? No. You know, they wanted to hear lies. They were told lies.
So what did you tell them?
Whatever they wanted to hear.
It's significant that Martin Tanklefff was 17 years old and had no experience with the police when this interrogation occurred. They led him to believe, through their evidence ploys, that he committed a crime that he had no memory of. They told him falsely that there was evidence of his guilt in this crime, which there wasn't. They told him that there was a humidity test that showed he had taken a shower to clean off the blood. There was no such humidity test. They told him that his father had woken up from a coma at the hospital and identified him as the perpetrator. In fact, that had not occurred. Martin Tankleff reasoned that the evidence demonstrated he was guilty, he must have done something, and he tried to retrieve memories of the crime. And his confession statement to the police is an attempt to satisfy their need to come up with an explanation for their false evidence ploys.
How crazy is that? Oh.
And the judge saying, have you reached a verdict? The jury saying yes.
Were you standing or seated at this point?
At that point I was seated. Once they said yes, then I believe the judge asked myself and the attorneys to stand. At that point, I don't know if it was the judge or the jury foreman issued their verdict.
As the defendant, Martin Tankleff, as to count 2, murder, 2nd degree, guilty.
Guilty. There's nothing that can describe it. I cannot possibly describe to you or anyone else how, based on the prosecution's case, the reaction at that point is just saying it's like you're hit in the stomach and the air is taken out of you. Doesn't even do it justice.
It has been said that one of the main reasons that Marty was convicted was that he displayed no emotion while on the stand. Well, if you had it to do all over again, and you may someday have it to do all over again, would you take the stand again?
Yes.
Why?
Tell my side, tell the truth.
But wouldn't you be concerned that a jury might look at you again and say, gee, that guy is so unemotional that he's probably guilty? Would that concern you?
It would. But, you know, if you don't take the stand, okay, who's going to really know the truth? Nobody. That's why I'm here today. That's why I took the stand. Okay, how often do you see people take the stand? Defendants, innocent defendants, take the stand. They've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing to hide.
It's easy for me to
Yes,
say
I went on camera.
that I wish he had not testified. I'm not convinced it would have changed the verdict. I'm not convinced that if he had not testified, that this jury, whatever was going on inside that jury room, that they would not have ultimately decided to convict him based on something else. But it made it easy for them to say, well, we saw him on the stand, and now, as a lawyer, what happens is, okay, we have the prosecution's story, and we have the defendant's story. Which one do we believe? And they said, we don't believe the defendant, because we didn't like the way he looked. We didn't like the way he did not emote on the stand. Therefore, we're going to buy the prosecution's story. If he had not testified, then our argument that the prosecution, the government, failed to prove its case would still have been there. And I just think that by testifying, it made the jury give them an easy way out, saying, we didn't like the way he looked or appeared on the stand.
Marty was remanded to the county jail to await sentence, while Sherry, who now believed he was guilty, contested her father's will.
And now here's my interview with Marty. The beginning is a little messed up with my filtering, but again, this was the first time doing it like this, and so enjoy, and I'll see you guys at the end.
Hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, perfect. Got it. Took a little while, but we got it. All right. So, how are you?
I'm okay.
That's good. So I'm really glad you decided to come. A lot of people are very interested in your case, thanks to Brendan Dassey's case, and with Making a Murder. I know you're familiar with it. Tell me. I mean, I could give you a whole intro, but tell me your story. Like, I know your story, obviously, but tell me in your words how it started, like background, everything.
We don't have enough time for that.
Give me a shortened version. All right, so I'll do the intro.
Are you recording now?
Yes.
Okay.
That you were falsely accused on September 7th of 1988 for killing your parents or executing your parents, which you admitted to a crime that you did not do. You knew from day one that it was your father's business partner. We all knew it was your father's business partner. And somehow you got roped into confessing to this because of the police lies, saying that, you know, your father told you that you did it when you didn't do it, saying that your father, you know, woke up from a coma and said you did it when you didn't do it, and just told you a whole bunch of lies. So is that about...
To a certain degree, it's accurate, but the one thing everyone needs to know is that law enforcement had the ability to electronically record the interview interrogation. They chose not to. So what was determined or deemed to be a confession was nothing in my handwriting. There was no video, there was no audio, and that's because law enforcement chose not to. What was presented was a 3.5-page statement that was handwritten in Detective McCree's handwriting. It wasn't signed by me, it wasn't initialed by me. And as people need to know is that when law enforcement has the ability to electronically record interviews and interrogations and they choose not to, what to me that really tells is it's a clear message to everybody that they don't want the truth to be known. And if you've got nothing to hide, record it. It's really the bottom line. Because what ends up happening is when you record the interviews and interrogations, it protects all parties. You know, he said, she said, it doesn't one-sided. We have literally the most accurate evidence of what took place.
How did you feel that they were pinning it on you from day one?
It's shocking. I mean, when you know in your heart and you know factually who did it, and your family's saying it and your friends are saying it and nobody is listening. And I think what people need to understand is you really have to go back to 1988 and understand what Jerry Stuerman did. Jerry Stuerman was, by witnesses' own account, the last person there. He faked his death. He changed his appearance. He told his family to be swimming with a fish. He cleaned out a joint bank account. He fled from New York to New Jersey.
I remember that.
5 different aliases. You know, not many innocent people have one alias. He had 5 aliases. He fled from New Jersey to California. He changed his hair weave. He was found hiding in a psychiatric retreat. An average individual would take all of those factors and say, clearly he's a suspect. Clearly he has to be considered a suspect, especially when you add in the fact that his son was a drug dealer who used enforcers when Jerry himself had hired Hell's Angels bikers to commit acts.
I remember that. I vaguely remember that now that you're saying it. But I remember because we used to hang out at the bowling alley all the time in Strathmore. And I vaguely remember that. It's funny that you said that because that just popped up memories.
I mean, when you take all of those factors into play, how could you not, a rational individual, how could you not say, how could he not be considered a suspect? Tragically, in my case, he wasn't. They considered him a witness of some sort.
But even as a teenager, I remember everybody saying it was his dad's business partner. Why didn't the cops ever... I mean, if we were like, 17 when you were arrested, and then 19, 20... I mean, I left after 9/11, but, 17, 18, 19, the rumor mill all over Belterre Country Club, it was definitely the business partner. So why didn't anyone do anything?
Probably because at that point, I don't know what you're talking about, but at some point... it was really after I was convicted.
It was the 90s. It had to be the 90s.
You have to understand, Tom Spoto became a district attorney. Tom Spoto, when he was in private practice, had represented K. James McCready, who was the lead detective in my case. His law firm had also represented Todd Stuerman, and that was Jerry Stuerman. So if you think about how could the lead prosecutor investigate his former clients, he couldn't and he wouldn't. Even when we started to present new evidence, we asked for a special prosecutor, and we argued. We argued that how could Spoto be fair? I mean, how could, and, what was interesting about it was he denied it. The judge denied the special prosecutor. And what was even crazier was that SPOTA had appointed Walter Walkenthien, who was the only investigator in the office at that time that had a prior relationship with McCready. So every step of the way, there was this corrupt level of corruption, collusion, misconduct that people don't want to acknowledge, don't even want to discuss, because it shakes our faith in the system.
I think that's been shaken recently over the last, I would say, 10 years, pretty much in every department, between all the racism with the cops or supposed racism and so on and so forth. When I did my master's in criminal justice, one thing that I've always felt, and I get feedback, positive, negative, is that a lot of the problem in the system is public defenders. Not that rich people don't go to jail, or not that, hired attorneys don't go to jail, but so many public defenders are against clients. And as soon as cops hear they're going to have a public defender, now all of a sudden they're shooting for these false confessions and everything else. That's what I have found. Whether there's document to back that up, probably not. But I have always found that whenever you have false confessions, you have public defenders, or no defender, all the time.
So what I say is that the large percentage of law enforcement are there to do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Tragically, you have a small percentage who are the bad apples.
Mm-hmm.
And those bad apples actually infect everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And really, once there's no correlation between a public defender and a false confession. Because if you think about it, the false confessions are obtained before there are lawyers involved, right? And the difference is that I think public defenders versus private lawyers may have more experience or more knowledge or the ability to consult with false confession experts.
Okay.
So empirically, public defenders are overworked, underpaid.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the same resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a false confession murder case, I don't really know what the budget is for a legal aid lawyer, right? But a private lawyer may charge $100,000, $150,000. So if they need to hire an expert for $5,000, obviously the money is there. I don't think the legal aid lawyer is given a $150,000 budget to try a case.
No, it's like $20,000 or something.
Right, it doesn't happen. So, a lot of the blame goes to the overworked aspect of being a public defender. And it's national. I've spoken to legal aid lawyers or public defenders that represent hundreds of people a year. Okay, they're overworked. Okay, and you can't blame them. You blame the system, really. The system isn't designed to give a lawyer who is a public defender hundreds of cases to represent a year. But you also have to start before you get to that false confession, right? Really, what is at the root of it? The root of it is bad policing, prosecutorial misconduct, okay? And it's also the ability to get false confessions. Law enforcement are trained how to conduct interrogations, right? That's why it's so important to electronically record interviews and interrogations. We're not talking about after law enforcement has conducted 6 hours of an interview or 6 hours of an interrogation, they find, okay, we've got a confession, let's put the recording device on. You want to record every single aspect from the first question.
Hold that thought 1 second. You can keep talking. I just have to let the dog out. Go.
Fluff and nut of butter. In the way.
Go. All right. Go on. Sorry about that.
How we know the benefit of recording is we can look at Jim Trainum. Jim Trainum was a DC homicide detective who had a video recorded one of his own interrogations. He was a good cop. He went back and re-watched that interview, an interrogation, and he saw that he elicited a false confession. He didn't do it knowingly, but because the interrogation was recorded, everyone got to see exactly what happened. And what had happened is that inadvertently he was mentioning facts that only he knew. And all of a sudden, the young woman was adopting those facts. That is why I say the recording of interviews and interrogations is so important.
But even when they're recorded, again, I go back to look at Brendan Dassey. That was recorded. That was, looking at it blindly, first time I ever saw it, I thought of you, honestly, because I'm like, he's 16, Martin was 17. People don't realize, and I've said this over and over, whether you have a high IQ and you were a spoiled rich kid or you're a scum of the lowlife, when you have cops in your face yelling at you or being nice to you, it's very easy to say, I did it. Just to shut them up, and you want to leave and you want to get them out. I don't think people realize how easy it is to say, I did it, for someone not experienced in the law. Someone experienced in the law, I didn't do it. I didn't do nothing.
I mean, we've seen from, Brendan Dassey for making a murder, but I tell another great case to look at is Michael Crow. Michael Crow was a 13-year-old boy, I think he was a 13-year-old boy who confessed to killing his sister. Well, he was home with his parents, and hold on one second. Wait, hold on one second. Off the books. Oh, okay.
I was recording. I'm gonna eat dinner.
No, I'm in the doctor's office. I told you my schedule. So what I say is pretty simple, okay, is you look at how the interrogations are conducted, and you look to see what the ultimate motivations are, or the ultimatums that are given, right? In the Michael Crow case, what they did was they said to Michael Crow, you're home alone with your sister, your parents. Your sister ends up dead. Your parents are home, you're home. So either your parents killed your sister or you killed your sister, one or the other. Right? And you think about it, most people would say, well, don't want to blame their parents for something, so they accept responsibility. But I think it's very difficult. Huh? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
I told you it's shifting around.
It's all right. That's awesome.
Okay, so what was I saying? I just lost it.
About Michael Crow, it's either he did it or his parents did it, and he took responsibility.
So what I try to do is I try to explain to people and simplify false confessions. And usually what I do is I tell people, say, think back to when you were a child. Your parents are out, lamp breaks. Your parents come home and they say, listen, we're not going out for ice cream until one of you tells us who broke the lamp. And when I do this in large audiences, generally speaking, about 25% of the people say, well, I said I broke the lamp, so I want to go to
Lower your camera a little, because we're getting like your nose up. Perfect.
So, and then I explained to people, and think about it, right? I said, you just confessed. I said, you confessed to breaking a lamp. Now I said, multiply that by, let's say, 1 million times. All of a sudden, you're in an interrogation room. It's not about ice cream. It's about your freedom. And it's hours and hours and hours. And essentially, you get repetitively told, the only way you're leaving this room is tell us what we want to hear. After 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, you finally start to say, you know what, I just want out. Like, what do I have to do to get out of this environment? And quite often, you're led to believe that when it's all over, you can go back to your normal life. Look at Brendan Dassey. What did he say at the very end? He's like, am I going back to school today?
I agree.
And it's very difficult for the average individual to understand it until you start watching. When you watch other interrogations and how they're conducted, and, Brendan's, I think, is a very good example of what an innocent suspect does. The minute, right, the interrogation is over with, and you get to somebody that you're friendly with, your family members, like Brendan with his mom, what did he tell his mom? Mom, they got in my head. Okay? And in a lot of interrogations, that's what happens. The minute you get away from the confines of law enforcement and you get to somebody you trust, you say something like that. They made me tell them that, or they got in my head, or I just couldn't take it anymore. I just told them whatever they wanted to hear.
Now, with Brendan I'm totally off track from everything I wanted to ask you, but speaking of Brendan, and even speaking of you, I understand it from Brendan's standpoint being, for lack of a better way to say it, disabled, mentally challenged, not respectable member of society from a bad home, dysfunctional home. I can see why his mom said, no, don't worry about it, he doesn't need a lawyer. You, on the other hand, I always wondered and always wanted to ask you, why didn't anyone in your family get you a lawyer immediately? Why didn't your dad's lawyer show up immediately?
Actually, so Mike Fox, who was the family attorney, who was my godfather, who was what I called Uncle Mike, showed up that morning, told McCready, told Detective McCready, I don't want Marty spoken to.
Okay,
very early on. McCready lied to him. And what ended up happening, it became a credibility issue, right? And every time, and this was historically what Suffolk County would do, when you had a suspect like me, and they knew that somebody was looking for them, they would do this like shifting movements. So they would bring you to one area, right? And your family members or a lawyer would show up there, and they're like, oh, he's not here. He's been moved to somewhere else. And they would keep doing that.
Okay.
And for me, it was something very similar to that. Mike Fox showed up at the scene where I was. McCready lied to him. Then he was told that, oh, he's on his way to the hospital. So then he drove to the hospital. Oh, he's not here. He's going there. And this was historically something Suffolk County did. They did this in the highest case, and it's not an uncommon tactic that when they want to hide you from people, they just keep telling lies. And in my case, McCready was a liar.
Wow. Did your dad's partner ever, he died, right? Before Justice?
No.
Or is it Florida or something?
Still alive. Todd Stewart is still alive. The lead detective is dead.
Okay.
Creeding is dead. And the last prosecutor that tried to keep me in prison, he's dead. So Lato's dead, McCready is dead, and Creeding is dead.
But your parents never got justice. The partner is still
No, and part of the problem is this: is when the case was finally over with me, the prosecutorial powers returned back to SPOTA.
Okay.
SPOTA can't really prosecute his former clients.
Okay.
SPOTA is currently under federal indictment for witness tampering, among other things. There's a new district attorney in Suffolk County, so we're hopeful now that he has just recently established a conviction integrity unit, we can present all of the evidence we've gathered over the last 15, 20 years, and all of it will do something.
Okay. Do you think that if that hadn't have happened to you, you still would have been an attorney? Or you think you would have taken a whole different path?
No.
What would you have done?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a businessman.
Okay.
And I don't like to say his name because it becomes very political.
Trump?
There's somebody who is very high up.
Trump.
Who went to the Wall School of Business. And
Trump.
when I was a kid, when I was a kid, and I tell people this, when I was a kid, I wanted to be like Trump, but it was more of the successful business person, right? And I had a business as a kid. So no, I had no intention or aspirations to become a lawyer or be a law professor or teach at Georgetown or teach at Torah. I had no, that wasn't even in my realm.
Okay. And I will say though that Sean Pica, I think was his name.
Yep. Sean Pica.
He also has become successful after 15 years. I mean, he actually did his crime. But he's actually got involved, not as well as you, but he also deals with education in the system and make sure the prisoners in New York have, I mean, that's another kid that got arrested at 15 and really turned his life around after doing so many years in prison. It's impressive. And in case you guys don't know, Marty is now an attorney. He used 17 years in prison.
I have to clarify that. I am not admitted to the bar yet.
I thought you were.
I am not admitted to the bar yet. That is the one caveat. Most people think that in New York, when you graduate law school, and you take the bar exam, you pass the bar exam, you automatically get admitted. There's still two more steps that I'm going through right now. But I work at a law firm. I'm a professor at Touro Law School, and I'm also a professor at Georgetown University, and I teach an undergraduate class there.
And that's where I found, which I did a video on him, Valentino Dixon. What an incredible story. Like, I did a whole video on him, his artwork.
Because when I was a student at Touro Law School, we set up a wrongful conviction externship program, and I was actually working for Bruce Barkat, who's a lawyer on Long Island, and he was working on Valentino's case. And, we were there, and the students were there, and they kind of it wasn't going anywhere. But I made a connection with Valentino, and I told Valentino, I said that I will never give up on you, that hopefully one day down the road, circumstances will change. And when Mark Howard and I started teaching this class, decided to teach the class at Georgetown, Valentino's was one of the cases we picked for the students. We didn't pick the case, we picked 8 cases, and the students picked Valentino's case. And they were very successful with it.
Yeah, they were.
September 19th, he was freed after 27 years in prison.
I did a video on it. I was shocked. Some of my subscribers bought his artwork as well through his website. I was absolutely shocked at how the whole thing came about, how it's just wild. Being that you do work...
An African-American man in prison for murder, that 2 days after the murder was convicted, another man came forward, publicly said...
I did it.
Lamar Scott said, the victim is dead because I lost control of the gun. Okay, and Valentino was a man who was an artist before he went to prison. The superintendent said, hey, can you draw this golf course? Valentino never stepped foot on the golf course, thought it was a crazy idea. And all of a sudden that set him on a different path where he started drawing golf courses. And the first golf course he's ever been to was Pebble Beach. He was reading in Pebble Beach.
Wow.
So imagine for somebody who's never set foot on a golf course, at the first golf course, and I think any of your subscribers who are golfers would probably say, Pebble Beach is probably one of the top 5 in the country that if you were going to go to,
it's just wild. Now, another statistic that I pulled up, though, and you work with exonerees all the time, there were 2,120 exonerations in the U.S. since '89. I actually felt like it was more than that, according to National Registry.
Right. So you have to understand that the reason why that number is what it is look at what the definition is. Okay? That's very important for your subscribers to understand. The National Registry of Exonerations is a very, very strict kind of standard to get added to their list. So if you read the definition on their website, you must qualify and satisfy that. But if you think about those numbers, right, you have to break it down by year, right? I don't know if you're in front of a computer now,
I am.
But if you look at the last few years, right, pick last year or the year before, and you see how many exonerations took place last year or the year before. It's about 1 every 2.5 days.
Really?
That number would scare your viewers.
Wow.
Okay, you're talking about 2 a week, 3 a week, okay? And I think your viewers need to understand is that every time there's an exoneration, what that further establishes that the guilty party have remained free, committing additional crimes and victimizing their communities.
Okay. One of the things that I have told subscribers for 2 years in multiple videos that everybody's focusing on the 5% max that are innocent in jail. And I try to tell people 95% of the time we get it right. It's that 5% that sucks, but you can't hate an entire justice system because 95% of the time they get it right. It's just that 5%, up to 5%. But why are so many, I understand New York's a big place, but so is Texas. Why is New York the second highest among states for false confessions? I mean, granted, New York's big,
Well, if you think about it, it's probably one of the reasons why. It's the training that it goes into law enforcement. It's the fact that we haven't had the mandatory electronic recording of interviews and interrogations. I mean, in 1988, I think there was only one state in America where it was mandatory to record interrogations. I think it was Alaska.
Wow.
And you have to really understand, though, is that when there has been an introduction of electronic recording interviews and interrogations, I think the confession rate has gone down, or the proven accuracy of confession rates have gone down, because we're able to rewatch them and understand, was there a problem? Is it a false confession? Right?
Okay.
And you have to look to the way law enforcement. Okay. McCready, in my case, said to Aaron Moriarty, he didn't record it because it inhibits an interrogator. Okay. And really, you understand really what that translates to. The reason why they don't want to record it is because somebody will rewatch it, and if they did something illegal, if they did something wrong, somebody's going to watch it. Okay. So it's not so much that it inhibits them. It's that people will get the opportunity to rewatch what they did.
Okay.
And my philosophy has always been, if you're doing nothing wrong, who cares who watches it?
Yep. I agree. But even when you do something wrong, I go back to Dassey. The whole world saw those interrogations. And how the not the Supreme Court, how the 7th District Appeals Court, half agreed, half didn't agree. One of the main reasons they didn't agree was the law. That, according to the law, they did nothing wrong. When is that going to change? Because that needs to change. Because they did do stuff wrong. He was a 16-year-old kid. You were a 17-year-old kid.
So Saul Casson, who's a false confession expert at John Jay, has been arguing for years, and sadly I think we may be arguing for more years to come, that lying to suspects should be illegal. Especially to juvenile suspects. One of the problems is you look at the Brendan Dassey case, that the 7th Circuit had this split, and when they sought clarification or review from the Supreme Court, what did the Supreme Court do? They refused to take the case.
Which I knew they would. I don't think anyone realistically thought they would take it.
Well, what was troubling about that case is if you look to see how many amicus briefs were submitted, I think the level of amicus briefs and the diversity of the amicus support should have really convinced the Supreme Court of the importance of the case and the legal issues. And to really dismiss it on whatever reason they dismissed it on, or refuse to consider hearing it, I think was just kind of too short. I think, quite often, you hear lawyers say, don't dismiss on a technicality, hear it on the merits. Right? Because a lot of times we want to hear things on the merits, right? Let's not focus on technicality so much. And in Brendan's case, I think it really was one of those cases where they should have heard it on the merits. Especially when you had such a diversity or split in the 7th Circuit.
Do you think, I know personally that Lauren and Steve Drizzen have spent well over $1 million in their time, efforts, everything, briefs. It's not over, but it kind of is over. Can they do anything else for him? Or now it's waiting on Azelma?
Steve Drizzen and Lauren and I actually spoke to my class yesterday.
Oh, did they?
They did. And that was one of the things that they concluded with. They said, as everyone in the class should know, in wrongful conviction cases, it's never over.
Okay.
There's always something more to be done, and they said that there is more to be done for Brendan Dassey. And I've known Steve Drizzen for a very long time, and I met Lauren Nyrider many years ago, and I can assure you and your viewers that if Steve and Lauren say it's not over, it ain't over.
And I would imagine so, just because, it's kind of confusing because, okay, you get denied from the Supreme Court, you're done. There's nowhere else to go. But I'm like, they have so many years invested and so many well over $1 million, maybe even $2 million by this point invested. They're not just going to walk away. They're going to find some angle.
Well, you also think Kathleen Zellner, right? So most people kind of talk about Brendan as Kathleen Zellner. She's the most successful private attorney in America as far as exonerations go. Her success which will happen. I'm confident she will be successful.
Okay.
Most innocent lawyers or lawyers that take on these cases don't take the cases on the loose.
Okay.
Right? And it's not about money. It's not about resources. It's really about believing in your client and figuring out a way to pursue and present the evidence. And I think Kathleen is one of those lawyers that knows how to do it. And I mean, she's been successful, I think, 19 times. And when you've been successful that many times, you're not going to take on the you want to win. And it's not really winning. What I say is more about proving justice than winning.
But can she get through a completely corrupt county? That's the problem. I don't doubt her ability. It's getting through the corruption of Manitowoc and what seemingly seems to be all of Wisconsin. If you heard what Walker just did with
my phone's got 15% left, so I don't know how much longer should be left. So I revert back to something a lawyer once said, that a system can't function, as long as you incarcerate an innocent person. And I think eventually they came up against the wrong person, right? Anybody who knows Kathleen Zellner, I don't think she's anything that she's afraid of when it comes to pursuing justice. And I think the experts she's brought on board aren't afraid. She's made these public challenges about the most recent one was the brainwave polygraph type examination,
which she hears a lot of crap for, that it's not scientific. My whole feeling was the guy's a Harvard professor. I'm sorry, but he's got some credibility.
Well, what I say is, I used to have litmus tests when I was president, and I used to ask guys, "You're innocent?" They say, "Yes." I said, "Okay. Are you willing to do a DNA test? Are you willing to do a polygraph test? And are you willing to take any other type of forensic examination, whether it's admissible in court or not?" Right? And the guys would go, yes, without any hesitation. Okay, let's talk. Right? And several of those guys are home now. Right? And most innocent people I've ever encountered have that same guttural response. There's yes. There's no hesitation. It's not like, well, I'm a little concerned about DNA, or wait a minute, polygraphs aren't admissible in this state, or what other forensic tests are you talking about, right? Most innocent people want to do whatever they can to prove their innocence, right? Whatever it is. I don't care if it's a brainwave technology, it's a fingerprint test, it's a blood test, it's a polygraph test. They will do whatever they can. Bottom line. And Stephen Avery and Brendan Massey have, from what I understand, have both been those people that said, whatever you want me to do, I'm game for.
Okay. So you, in your heart, you believe they're both completely innocent.
So what I believe is I don't know enough about the facts. I believe they're the lawyers. Okay. And if they're the lawyers, Steve Drizzen and Laura Nyrider and Kathleen Zellner, I believe them, so I take their word that their clients are innocent, right? I'm one of those people that before I speak 100%.
I'm back.
I want to deal with the facts of the case, right? And I'm not part of their defense teams.
Stay in the middle.
I have advocated for them. So I believe they both are entitled to new trials. Clearly, they deserve new trials, right? But, if Kathleen says Steve Avery's innocent and Steve Drizzen says Brendan Dassey's innocent, I take their words for it.
Okay. Speaking of Kathleen Zellner, real quickly, a lot of feedback that she gets is she's unprofessional with her tweets and all that other stuff. And supporters, we always say, it doesn't matter. She's still going to have the end result. But one of the biggest things that we see as a supporter is she has to have something up her sleeve somewhere. She's too vocal about this one did it or that one did it definitively. But I feel like she's hiding the real person under her sleeve, but doesn't want him to run. Am I totally off track, or does that sound like a hotshot attorney would do that?
I think it's a fair assessment. I said, we're also living in a different technological time compared to 10, 15 years ago, right? So,
Lower,
if you think about
lower
it, if you think about every law enforcement agency or district attorney's office have public information officers, right?
Mhm.
They issue press releases, they communicate facts to the press or to the public. That's what Kathleen Zellner is doing through her utilization of social media. She's
Okay.
educating the public, right? She's not using a PR person. She's tweeting. Our president tweets. Politicians tweet, right? It is a way to communicate things to the public, right?
Okay.
But clearly, she's an officer of the court. She's bound by ethical rules, disciplinary rules, that she knows she would never cross that line because what would it do? It would damage her client's case, right?
Okay.
And I think as a lawyer, you will always hold something up your sleeve for that kind of Perry Mason moment because you want to get into court. And you also have to realize there's certain information you can disclose to the public, certain information you can't. So she may have significant forensic evidence that she can't disclose publicly because maybe it has to be filed under seal, or maybe she doesn't want to scare people away.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, and I've always had that. While wrapping up, so besides getting admitted to the bar of New York State, you spent 17 years in prison. You are a professor of law. You went through law school. Where does the future hold for Martin Tankleff? And I know you're married. Any kids?
One kid I adopted, my daughter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So the future is, number one, I want to get into the bar.
Yeah.
And one of the big things I would love to do is be able to stand up in court and say Martin Tankleff for the defense and exonerate somebody myself. Kind of be the lead lawyer, right? We start teaching the Making Exonerate class at Georgetown on January 11th. We'll have anywhere from 15 to 18 students, and we would love for the students to be involved in another exoneration. I mean, our students, within a few months of finishing their class last spring, they were able to walk Valentine and Dixon out of prison.
Wow.
It's kind of amazing for exchange students because the three students that were on this case were from Paris, London, and Japan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The other thing I would love to do is be able to establish a wrongful conviction clinic at Florida Law School, which we are trying to set up. So there's still a lot in the works. And the other thing, and the most important thing, is I would love the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office to actually sit down with me, my private investigator, my lawyers, hear all the evidence we have, and pursue and prosecute individuals.
Did you ever get an apology?
The only apology I have ever publicly received was from, this was when he was a state senator with Senator Eric Schneiderman and Senator Michael Giannakis. Those are the only two public officials that ever apologized.
Is Suffolk, and I grew up in Suffolk after Queens, but is Suffolk County, my brother's a cop in Queens, but is Suffolk County still so corrupt as it was then?
You'd have to ask the people who are out there and deal with them on a regular basis.
Okay.
But I can tell you from speaking to a lot of people who are connected out there, they say not much has changed.
And they're still the highest paid police force in the entire country.
I was talking to a New York City cop the other day, and when I mentioned about Suffolk County cops, his response is, they're not real cops. So you can see how the attitude of other law enforcement agencies feel.
Are you bitter towards what happened? I mean, you spent 17 years in prison. Are you bitter?
So, I always tell people, how could you not be bitter, right?
That's very true.
But I'm not going to focus on the bitterness. I'm not going to let it drive me. If I focused on the bitterness or, the anger, where would I be in life? I'd be miserable. I wouldn't be trying to pay it forward. I wouldn't be going out to dinner and having a nice dinner somewhere. I would be married and have a daughter.
I'm so sorry about the echo.
If you focus on the bitterness and anger, it could eat you up a lot. And emotionally, it would just probably drain you. And I don't want that. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to see the world. December 27th will be 11 years free.
Wow.
So, I don't want my life controlled by bitterness or anger, because that bitterness and anger is directed towards a small group of people. And I know I have good karma for the rest of my life. I can't speak about them. Because I think anybody who's involved in a wrongful conviction has to live with that guilt and shame for the rest of their lives.
Wow. Well, Marty, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I know viewers are going to be extremely happy. I know they're going to ask me, you know, well, can you get him back for a live show? So I will let you know feedback. Anything you want to close on? Oh, by the way, I had her name in my head. Rosanna Scotto and Patty, the videographer. Patty's one of my best friends. Told me to tell you they said hi. Patty told me to tell you her and Rosanna said hi. So I said, okay, I will do that. And
Rosanna is one of my favorite people.
That's what she said. That's what Patty
one
said.
of the reporters, because there was a period of time she got involved, and people in higher authority tried to shut her down.
Really?
And yeah, it's a she can tell you about it. It's a sad story. But I've been on her show many times. I've been to her restaurant. I know her daughter well. I mean, her daughter works with Jason Flom, who's a founding board member of the Innocence Project. And their entire family are just generally great people. And Rosanna is one of the most amazing reporters, because when there is a wrongful conviction in New York, she's always open to having them come on her show. Because I think when an exoneree takes place, and Good Day New York can talk about it, it's a great place.
Yeah, I agree. You just brought up some. I was in the music business throughout the 90s. I never knew Jason Flom was part of the Innocence Project. Granted, it was like two separate lives for me, but I had no idea that he was all about exonerees. When did he start that?
25 years ago. He's a founding board member of the Innocence Project.
Crazy.
He's on the board of Families Against Mandatory Minimums.
Yep.
He does all sorts of programs. And Jason and I have been friends for probably 10 years now.
I had no idea. I think I learned this like a year ago. I was like, Jason Flom. I was like, how does he connect the two? And everyone said, yeah, he's like a founding member of the Innocence Project. And I'm like, guess I just wasn't interested in criminal justice then, but I never knew. I was like, wow.
Kind of his other life he does.
It's
like he jokes. He says, this is my side business. The music business is his number one thing. Prince Siberian Orchestra, Matt Noise, Katy Perry, Black Veil Brides. Yeah,
he's got a list under him. Did he help with West Memphis 3? Because they had a ton of musicians involved.
No, but I know Lonnie Story did. Steve Braga did. Jay Salpeter did. So there was a lot of people that I know that were involved in that case.
Okay. Anything you want to close on?
No, but I would be more than happy to come back for a live show, maybe in the new year. And we can talk about some more stuff.
Sounds good, Marty. Thank you so much. And I'm going to edit this little play your 911 call. I cannot even believe the 911 call. And I grew up in Suffolk County, and to hear what a blatant bitch she was, I was like, wow. Have you heard it recently?
I have not. I've heard it enough, and everybody gets the same response, like, what a bitch she was. Like, she was just nasty.
She's like, you listen to me. I was like, wow. So, but I will send you a copy of the video. I mean, you can go to my channel, but I'll send you a copy. And if I don't speak to you, have a wonderful holiday. Happy Hanukkah. And Happy New Year. And I will speak to you next year.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Marty. Thank you. Bye-bye. I hope everything's okay at the doctor's office.
Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. And that's it. That was my interview with Marty Tanklefff. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know there were a lot of problems between the beginning, the echo. I screwed up. I did. It was my first interview in this kind of setting. I was a little nervous. Even though I knew him, I was just still nervous. So I apologize for that. I hope you guys, I also know that this took forever to put out, and I'm sorry. So enjoy. I am going to premiere this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. As you can tell, I'm like laughing just rewatching it because it was just so awesome. So I'm going to upload this now and premiere it. And don't forget, check out my other videos. Don't forget to subscribe. And I promise you the next one, I'll remember to hit pause on Google Hangouts so it doesn't have the echo. So it was a first run. I tried. All right. So I'll speak to you guys soon. Have a great night.